and professionalism with which he served the families of veterans and residents at large during some of their most difficult times. Families, in the case of those of our cherished veterans, repeatedly express how comfortable they felt when Mr. Sasso is present at their homegoing of their loved ones. To see him extend his hands containing his penguin-style hat in one and his cane in the other captures the attention of all in attendance. If a song of his liking or by the family's request is playing during the recession, it then becomes a rap. You will definitely get a couple of appropriate dance moves right along with it. He leads the coffin with a poise and style that brings a sense of peace to grieving hearts. While there are many capable funeral directors across our territory, Mr. Sasso is frequently requested by name, a testament to his lasting impression he leaves on all who witness his contribution. Let's not get it twisted, though. Not only is he a joy to watch, Mr. Sasso gives all families the kind of attention needed from start to finish. His attention to detail, compassionate demeanor, and unwavering commitment to excellence have brought honor not only to his profession, but to our entire community. He is more than deserving of this honor. Director Farrell respectfully asks the committee and the full body to pass Bill number 36-007, formally recognizing Mr. Sasso's invaluable contributions. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this written testimony. Respectfully, Director D. Farrell.
Thank you, Sergeant First Class. Ms. Turnbull, you may begin.
Honorable Senator Avery Lois, Chairperson, Committee on Government Operations and Veterans Affairs, Honorable Senator Angel Bolquest Jr., sponsor of the resolution to honor Mr. James Sasso, and all other honorable senators on the Committee of Government Operations of the 35th Legislature, fellow testifiers, persons in the audience, and those listening by ear. My name is Bernice A. Turnbull, and I am appearing before you in support. I'm appearing before you to offer my support in favor of the recommendation to honor Mr. James Sasso for his distinguished service in death care, compassionate care, and life memorial industry to the people of St. Thomas and St. John as a funeral director. I have known Mr. Sasso as long as he has been a funeral director associated with Turnbull's Funeral Home, and I find him to be humble, caring, considerate, and empathetic. I speak as one who has experienced his service. It has been said that the way a society treats their dead tells the story of that society. The story of how Mr. Sasso treats the dead needs to be recorded in the annals of the Virgin Islands. For those who have not had the experience of his service, I will give you an abbreviated version of his program. Mr. Sasso handles the dead as if though he was interacting with someone alive. He ensures that your loved one looks the best he or she can. That means from the time the casket leaves the funeral home, it becomes his personal responsibility. Oh yes, he handles it with great care. Once he gets to the church where the service is being held, it is carefully removed with care and precision. The pallbearers are given the instructions as to how to handle the dead. No half-stepping. At that point, Mr. Sasso takes charge. He respectfully requests that all in the church please stand in respect to the dead being brought in. Once inside the church, before the viewing begins, he makes sure that the dead is ready for viewing and asks relatives to please approve. During the viewing, he gives instruction about the use of cell phone during the service. Once the viewing is over, he takes the time to thank the attendees for coming and informs them as to what will happen during the church service and after the service. He introduces the clergy who will be performing the service. At the end of the service, he gathers the pallbearers, ensures that the instructions given relative to handling of the casket are in place. The highlight of the procession out of the church is Mr. Sasso leading the march, leading the casket, as if though he's marching to Zion. Just to view this brings comfort and some humor to those who are grieving. This is something that was not seen at funerals before. Hence, a person grieving, they find comfort because someone has taken special care of their loved one. As a cemetery, there were accommodations of tent and water, and Mr. Sasso makes sure that the pallbearers handle the dead with care and place the casket properly in its burial site. The extraordinary care he exhibits during burial rites of the dead is noteworthy. Under his care, he treats the dead with respect. I salute the 35th legislature for honoring the dead by honoring Mr. Sasso for the loving care and empathic way he treats the dead and his or her survivors. I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Turnbull. And it's the 36th legislature.
Oh, not the 35th.
But no problem. I'd like to recognize committee member Carla J. Joseph. And then we move on. Dr. Kaiser Calwood, you may proceed with your testimony.
A blessed good afternoon to you. Honorable Avery L. Lewis, Chairman on Government Operations, Veteran Affairs, and Consumer Protection. Vice Chairman Novel E. Francis Jr., Senator Kenneth L. Gittin, Senator Ray Fonseca, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, Senator Franklin D. Johnson, and Senator Carla J. Joseph, along with your dedicated legislative staff and all those joining via Facebook, YouTube, television, or in the chambers. I am Dr. Kaiser A. Calwood, and I appear before you to offer heartfelt testimony in strong support of Bill number 36-0007, a resolution to honor Funeral Director James Sasso as proposed by Senator Angel L. Boquez Jr. There's an old saying that reminds us, it's not how long we live, but how well we are remembered. If that is true, then James Sasso has made it in his life's mission to ensure that every person is remembered with dignity, compassion, and grace. Before dedicating himself to funeral service, Mr. Sasso pursued a background in electrical engineering, a field rooted in precision, balance, and understanding systems that are often unseen. It's poetic, then, that he now applies the same deep focus and quiet strength to navigating life's most delicate and emotional transitions. He has transformed the technical into the spiritual and turning structure into solace. With over a decade of service as a funeral director and certified crematory operator, Mr. Sasso has guided countless families through some of the most vulnerable moments of their lives. And he does so not merely with technical skill, but with a reverence of human experience that is rare and extraordinary. It is no surprise that he's regularly recognized as a funeral director of top quality excellence at Turnbull's Funeral Home and Crematory Services. To place his service in a broader societal context, I draw from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which positions self-actualization at the pinnacle of human fulfillment. Mr. Sasso's work is not just a profession, it is a daily expression of actualized empathy. His role transcends logistics. It touches the spiritual and emotional foundation of families and communities. Through him, we see what it means to transform duty into purpose and compassion into legacy. In that spirit, I humbly propose what I call the Sasso theory of transitional dignity, a guiding belief that emotional strength of a community is directly impacted by the dignity we uphold in our farewell rituals. The manner in which we honor the departed shapes the way we carry forward, and individuals like Mr. Sasso are guardians of that sacred transition. Now, I must add that while many know Mr. Sasso for his calm presence and deep reverence, there's another side of him that brings joy, as much joy. He is a devoted family man whose love and commitment at home reflect the same compassion he brings to his profession. And if you ever had the pleasure of attending a social gathering with him, you quickly discover that beneath his composed demeanor is someone who can effortlessly light up a room. In those settings, the same gentleman who helps us navigate our deepest losses is also the one who reminds us how to laugh again, often as the unexpected, yet beloved, comedic highlight of the evening. This rare balance of strength and softness, professionalism and personality, grief and grace is what makes Mr. Sasso a true community treasure. Honorable Senators, in honoring Mr. Sasso, we're not merely acknowledging a decade of excellent service. We are affirming the value of every soul that he has helped celebrate and every life he has uplifted through his sacred vocation. His example teaches us how to serve with heart, how to lead with humility, and how to live in a way that helps others find peace. So today, I leave you with this. If you ever need a moment of comfort, a listening ear, or even just a good laugh, don't call 911, call 340 James Sasso. And more importantly, let's collectively do what is right. Let us enshrine his legacy in the record of this Senate and the heart of this territory. I respectfully urge this distinguished committee to unanimously pass this resolution, not just for Mr. Sasso, but for every Virgin Islander who has found healing through his hand and hope through his heart. Thank you, and may God bless you all in your continued commitment to honoring those who serve our Virgin Islands community with integrity, empathy, and unwavering care. With humility and admiration, respectfully submitted, Dr. Kaiser A. Calwood.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser Calwood. A. Calwood. I'd like to recognize committee member, Honorable Senator Franklin D. Johnson. Madam Clerk, please mark Senator Carla Joseph and Senator Franklin Johnson present. Mr. Jelani Sasso.
Correct. That's correct. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Thank you. Good day, honorable members of this body, distinguished guests, friends, and family. Today we gather to celebrate an extraordinary man whose compassion, dedication, and unwavering service have touched countless lives in the Virgin Islands and beyond. It is with immense pride and gratitude that I speak on behalf of my family to honor my uncle James Sasso for his remarkable contributions as a funeral director and a pillar of the Virgin Islands community. For many years, James Sasso has served the people of the Virgin Islands with a heart full of empathy, a commitment to dignity, and a distinct style. As a funeral director, he has walked alongside families during their most difficult moments, offering not just professional expertise, but genuine care and understanding. He has provided solace to those grieving, ensuring every farewell honors life and legacy of those who have passed. His work is more than a profession. It is a calling, one he has answered with grace, humility, and an unshakable sense of duty. James's impact extends far beyond the walls of the funeral home. In the Virgin Islands, where community is the heartbeat of our culture, he has been a steady presence, a listener, and a friend to so many. Through his humor, his kind words, his willingness to lend a helping hand, or simply being there when words are not enough, James has woven himself into the fabric of the islands. His respect for traditions, his deep connection to the people, and his ability to bring comfort in times of sorrow have made him a trusted figure during one of the most difficult times one could endure. To know James is to know a man of integrity, warmth, and quiet strength. He carries the stories of our community in his heart, treating every family he serves as if they were his own. His work has not only honored those who have passed, but has also uplifted the living, reminding us of the power of compassion and the importance of coming together in times of loss. It feels like it was just last year when my cousin Lyle and I visited him in the Virgin Islands for our spring or summer high school vacations. Our uncle would engage with us about our interests and how important it was to figure out what we would like to do when we completed high school. He expressed his interest in the noble profession of funeral service, along with a quite compelling reason of why we shouldn't fear the dead or death. It was in that moment or shortly thereafter that my cousin and I decided that we too would attend mortuary school one day, and upon completion of high school, we did. Lyle and myself are licensed in New York State, where he still serves with dignity. His niece, Lyle's sister Maxine, also found her way to our alma mater, AAMI, the American Academy McAllister Institute of Funeral Service, where I happened to be employed as a clinical embalming adjunct professor at the time. She completed her education and currently works here in the U.S. Virgin Islands at the medical examiner's office. Lately, my focus has been on my artist entrepreneurial endeavors and funeral education, and the positive impact our uncle has had on our lives still echoes in a meaningful manner. On behalf of my family, I want to express our deep pride in Uncle James and gratitude to the Virgin Islands for recognizing this service. Thank you for entrusting him with your stories, your loved ones, and your memories. And to James, my uncle, my brother in service, my friend, thank you for being a beacon of light, a source of comfort, and a resource to your siblings and deceased parents, Clara Sasso and Edmund Sasso, who I know would be beaming with pride today. And last but not least, for being an example of what it means to serve with love. May we continue to honor your legacy by carrying forward the same spirit of kindness and community that you embody every day. Congratulations on being honored at this time, Uncle James. This is a well-deserved recognition, and I trust that the people of the Virgin Islands, they will ensure that this takes place. Because we are stronger, and we are kinder, and we are more connected because of you. Thank you.
Thank you, nephew Jelani Sasso. Daughter Trishelle Sasso, you may proceed.
Thank you, thank you. Good day to the distinguished members of this body, honored guests, family, and friends. Today is a moment of profound pride for me and my family as we gather to recognize the legacy of a truly exceptional man, my father, James Sasso. To the community, he is known as Sasso, a name that has become synonymous with dignity, compassion, and service in the Virgin Islands. But to me, he is Daddy, a man whose quiet strength, work ethic, and boundless love shaped not only our family, but the many lives he has touched through his life's work. My father's journey began on the small island of Anguilla, the youngest of 7 children born to Clarice and Edmund Sasso. From early on, he understood the value of hard work and humility, helping at his father's gas station and the family's convenience store. Those experiences rooted him in service, long before he ever donned a suit as a funeral director. While his career as an electrician spanned nearly 4 decades, it was later in his life that my father found his true calling in the funeral and mortuary field. For over 17 years at Turnbull's Funeral Home, he has walked beside grieving families with utmost care, offering not only his professional skills, but also his presence, his humor, and most of all, his heart. It takes a special person to serve people during their most vulnerable moments. It takes someone with deep empathy, reverence for tradition, and a steady hand. That person is my father. Time and time again, I have watched as community members approached him, not just with respect, but with deep affection and trust. Because when he shows up, he brings more than a service. He brings comfort. He brings peace. He has been voted the #1 funeral director in St. Thomas multiple times by the Daily News readership. And with that recognition is a testament to his professionalism. It barely scratches the surface of who he is. He is a husband of 32 years to my mother, Risa. He is a loving father to me and my siblings, Danelle and Latrell. He is a profound grandfather, a creative soul with a passion for design, and the man whose laughter can fill a room, even with the heaviest of moments. My dad has taught us, through his actions, that service is not just a job, it's a responsibility. It's something you give from your heart with no expectation of praise. And today, to see this coming to fruition with his resolution, to know that his decades of compassion, commitment, and quiet leadership are being recognized, it means the world to me and our entire family. Dad, your legacy is not just in the number of years you worked or the services you've performed. Your legacy lives in the families you've comforted, the traditions you've upheld, and the love you've poured into this community. Your parents, Grandma Clarice and Papa Edmund, are surely smiling down today with pride. And as your daughter, I hope you know how much I admire you, not only for what you've done, but for who you are. On behalf of our entire family, thank you to the Virgin Islands for seeing my father, what we've known all along, a man that's worth honoring. With all my love and gratitude, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hear sitting down saying, how are you going to bill Delva for all this free advertisement today? Because I don't know how the other funeral I'm going to make out, because after today, even the living room won't go down there. Mr. Sasso, Mr. James Sasso, I know you don't have a prepared testimony, but it'll be always nice if you could say a few words on the floor today. You can go right ahead.
Good afternoon, Honorable Senator Avery Lewis. Good afternoon to other members of the committee. Good afternoon, Senator Angel Bolkes, to bring this bill forward. Good afternoon, family and friends. Good afternoon to the management and staff of Turnbull Funeral Home. Good afternoon, Mrs. Turnbull, who's here with us. I'm a man of many words, but today I'm left without words, Avery, because as you might know, Avery, and maybe you might know because you just started as a senator early in the year, this bill was forward about 1.5 years ago, and I keep putting out this bill saying I don't want no recognition. I'm just doing my community service, and the Lord will thank me. So a couple of senators and other people say, Sasso, take your flowers while you're living. Don't wait until you're dead for them to rest them on the grave. So somewhere along this line, I had a change of heart, and I said, okay, I'll go ahead with the bill. But to be honest, I really won't look at no kind of recognition. I'm just doing my job. So I want to thank everyone who's supported me throughout this journey. I want to thank the funeral home, especially Mrs. Gums, our manager who's not here with us this evening, for giving me the opportunity that led to this day of us being here. Thank you, Mrs. Turnbull. Thank you, Mrs. Gums. And thank you to my wife, who I often get up in the morning at 3 o'clock and leave in the bed alone. Where you going? I said, going funeral home. What time the viewing start? I said 9 to 10. Where are you going so early? I said, I have to make sure everything is right and everything is in order. She can tell you all that I'm a man of perfection. Okay? And Avery, you might know that you have seen some of my electrical work. Okay, so thank you, and thank you to the listening viewing audience, and everyone have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
One thing I know, besides waste management, Nobody else walking, everybody tuning in today, because the man here today, Sasso, the man of the hour. Well, anyhow, Sasso, before we go to our round of questioning, we have one more bill in this block it's proposed by Senator Kenneth L. Gittins. This committee stands in recess for 2 minutes. The Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection is out of recess. I'd like to recognize committee member Kenneth L. Gittins. Next up, we have a bill 360029, a resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian hook bracelet and proprietor of one of the first-hand rod jewelry stores in St. Croix. Who speaks to this bill?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed, Senator.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. First, I apologize for my tardy arrival as I was attending the Central High School graduation, and I want to say congratulations to all the students and especially to their parents. Go Caribs. Again, good afternoon. Once again, it is both pride and with a heavy heart that I introduce Bill number 36-0029, which is before us today, a resolution to honor and commend the late Sonya Hough. This moment is, I would say, bittersweet. Mrs. Hough passed away March 9th of this year, just days after this resolution was actually released to my office. While we often speak of the importance of giving people their flowers while they're alive or while they're still with us, that opportunity does not always present itself. I deeply regret that we were unable to bring this resolution to the floor sooner. Mrs. Sonya Hough was a pioneering businesswoman, artist, and jeweler based on St. Croix. She is widely credited with designing and popularizing one of the most iconic symbols of Virgin Islands culture, known as the Crucian hook bracelet, similar like the one that I'm wearing. Yes, you know the one, you're very familiar with it. It is more than just a piece of jewelry. It is a statement of identity. If you see someone wearing a hook bracelet anywhere in the world, there's a strong chance they've visited the Virgin Islands, especially St. Croix. I have yet to board a flight to the mainland to or from, and someone doesn't make the comment or ask the question, are you from St. Croix or have you visited St. Croix? Just the other day, my colleague and I, sitting to my left, Senator Francis, we were in Washington, D.C., and sitting in an establishment, a lady from out of nowhere asked, are you from St. Croix? And I didn't even think about it because it was so cold. I had on jacket and whatnot, and I was like, yes, how you know that? She said, when you stretch your hands, I saw your bracelet. I said, wow. And I thought of this resolution because this was back in November, and I made sure I made a call, and I said, we need to get this resolution out quickly. They did their best, but, you know, God knows best. Originally, Sonya was from California. She moved to St. Croix in the early 1960s with her husband, David, and their children. She was largely self-taught in the art of jewelry making, a craft she began exploring shortly after their move to St. Croix. Together with her family, she opened a small storefront in Christiansted Town known as the Corner Shop. We know that to be right on the corner there on Company Street coming out of town, which would later become the beloved Sonya Ltd. The shop originally featured her husband's artwork and a variety of handmade items created by the family, but it was Sonya's focus on jewelry, especially the creation of the hook bracelet that would eventually leave a lasting legacy. The Crucian hook bracelet has become a powerful symbol of the cultural and artistic spirit of the Virgin Islands. It has elevated the profile of our territory globally and has instilled a deep sense of pride among Virgin Islanders. Her influence can be seen in the many local artisans who followed in her footsteps, inspired by her craftsmanship and vision. As we proceed, please note, colleagues, that an amendment to this bill will be introduced later on, not in today's hearing, but hopefully at the next step to reflect the recent passing of Mrs. Sonya Hough. I want to extend my sincere thanks to the co-sponsors who have joined me in bringing this resolution forward, and I respectfully ask the committee for your support in honoring the life and legacy of this remarkable woman, Mrs. Sonya Hough. Colleagues, I ask for your support as we move this measure forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Senator Gittins. So, colleagues, we have two bills before us. Bill number 360007, one, a resolution honoring and commending James Sasso for distinguished service in the mortuary and funeral service industry. And then we have Bill 360029, a resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian hook bracelet and proprietor of one of the first hand-wrought jewelry stores in St. Croix. Colleagues, the order that I have today is Senator Novell Francis, Senator Ray Fonseca, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, Senator Angel Bolquez, Senator Carla J. Joseph, Senator Franklin Johnson, and then Senator Kenneth Gittins. We'll go to a round of 3 minutes. Before I open to Senator Francis, I'd just like to ask, Mr. Sasso, how long have you been in this line of business?
17 and a half years plus.
Wow, seems like a long time. You know, the good part about, I don't know if it's a good or a bad, but I think it's really great that people will go down requesting you. You know, don't bury my mother till Sasso come. You don't bury this person, I want Sasso deal with it. And I think that speaks volume. You know, I really commend you for that. And the great job you do, Ms. Turnbull, couldn't emphasize, I mean, everybody emphasize the great job you do. I know you as a father, I taught two of you, I don't remember this young lady, but Denelle and Latrell, you know, at Olamola School, I knew you from in the West growing up. I mean, wow, and you fill the chambers here today, you know. Senator Francis, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to you, my colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers in the audience there, as well as good afternoon to the people of the Virgin Islands. I too want to join in commending our Caribs and our Central High School graduation today, and also to support you in sounding the conch shell in respect to the situation of sewage running in our streets. I think it's high time that this matter is addressed, and we have similar situation here in the District of St. Croix, but it's unacceptable. It's truly unacceptable that we continue to be confronted with this type of situation, and it's really a hazard, a health hazard, and really needs to be addressed. So I join you in sounding the conch shell in that respect. But today I also join in commending both of the bill sponsors, Senator Angel Bolkes Jr. as well as Senator Kenneth Gittins, on the recognition of course, James Sasso, our funeral director, as well as Sonya Hough of Sonya's Crucian Hook bracelet. I heard a lot of praises on Mr. Sasso, and I've certainly, despite coming from the St. Croix district for almost 20 years, I've had territorial responsibility and have often traveled over to St. Thomas and have witnessed his 17 and a half years as a funeral director, have been at many, many funerals and saw the work that he has done there. And certainly when we hear about him being exceptional, dignity, compassionate, his boundless efforts as well as being a father, a daddy, I think is commendable on that. I want to thank you, Mr. Sasso, for your service. And again, the fact that you bring some you bring some joy to the hearts of individuals that may be solemn and at their low point. And of course, I often say that funerals have a tendency to bring out the worst and the best in people. And we're happy that you're able to show your empathy, dignity, and structure, and certainly your compassion and care. I wanted to ask you one question because I think it's a big toss-up. You have been a notable and respected electrician, as well as being a funeral director. How do you separate those two responsibilities, and which one you enjoy more?
Well, good afternoon, Senator. To be honest with you, I enjoy being a funeral director more because I bring comfort to families that are grieving, and when I close up my funeral, I say, thank you for choosing to enroll son home. They say, thank you, Mr. Sasso. We are very pleased with the service, and that means more to me than money. Even doing electrical work, although there's a big difference in pay, I still prefer to stay with the funerals. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I try some of those moves that I see you do. At funeral, they don't work that well. I did it with my baton back when I was a cop. It don't work as well as you have done it, but certainly you're very impressive, the work that you've done there. I want to thank all of the testifiers that came before us today. And again, I don't have a whole lot of questions because I think that they have painted an excellent picture of your contribution. Certainly, the Honorable Bernice Turnbull, certainly Kaiser Calwood, as well as the Sergeant Nibs, as well as your daughter and nephew. I want to thank them for their testimony, and certainly at the appropriate time, I will be supporting this measure in this committee as well as the final session. So my congratulations to you. And again, thank you for your efforts there. I just want to wrap up by saying I know of the efforts that were being made by Senator Gittins, our Vice President, in bringing this bill forward well before Ms. Sonya had passed away. He kept saying that she was imminent and we need to get this moving. And unfortunately, we don't have the ability to stop the clock. So I sympathize with the fact that that is a little bit late, but nonetheless, better late than never. So thank you for still moving forward with this piece of legislation. I stand in support of these two measures, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for your time and opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Francis. Senator Ray Fonseca, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chair and Mr. James Sasso. Well, Sir Popa, you bring an all-star cast in here with you today. I see Miss Turnbull in the back there. Oh yeah, that's right. We can't do no more free advertising, right? Bernie Turnbull, Dr. Kaiser, you know, your daughter, the wife, Risa, you know, it's awesome. But I got a question for you, right? Because this is something that I the notice, but I don't really know. Okay, in the church, right? The head of the deceased faces where, because I just see you turning around the casket and I say, oh boy, so where's the foot now and where's the head? Because you know how to be watching you. So, and then also tell us when the person bury, is the head in first or the foot in? Because I'd be tracking this and I don't know. So tell us how it go, Papa.
Good afternoon, Senator Fonseca.
Yes.
Senator, it all depends on the layout of the church and the layout of the cemetery in terms of the entrance to the vault. In the church, the reason why we turn the casket is that the body always moves feet first. Like when you walk, you move your feet before your head. Okay. That's why you see the casket turn, always feet first. Okay. And at the grave site, all depends on the opening of the tomb. The body might go in feet first or head first. The head always remains to the west to face the rising sun. The head is always at the west in the tomb. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you know, I would have never figured that out. Thank you. So you see that? So the feet now is, the head is facing the west, so you face the rising sun. You know, I never knew that before. That is awesome, awesome. You know, that's awesome. So, you know,
1 minute.
One other thing I want to talk to you about, ask you about is them move step you got. Well, sir, Papa, them is some step with the cane and all of that. You know, I'm a Kappa, so we twirl the cane too, you know. So it's awesome, you know, congratulations, and to all your supporters, you know. I see Delva in the back there. You even got Thompson from the bank. Why, you even come with the money today. Yeah, blessings. So, you know, I am definitely in support of this bill, both of these bills in this block. And I'd like to thank both of the bill sponsors. Because, you know, the cushion bracelet is a real souvenir. And, you know, we're very familiar with that cushion bracelet. So at the appropriate time, Mr. Chair, I will be voting in the affirmative. And thank you so much. Blessings.
Thank you, Senator Fonseca. I too to be amazed by the steps. I say, one time I tell a friend, a good friend, I was Black Seed. I said, Black Seed, Sasso ain't look like the man in the peanut can. The plant also with the long shoot and thing. He said, I'm going to tell him. I said, I ain't give you no milling, man. Leave the man alone. But anyhow. Moving on, Senator Alma Francis Heileger, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good. Ooh, it sounds like an echo.
Try again.
Okay. Is the echo gone?
No, it's still there. You have more than one device? I am not certain.
No, I only called in through the phone.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. This is interesting. If you want to go ahead and to the next person and see if the media could clear that up.
All right, I'll move to the next senator and come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Angel Bolquez, you're recognized, the sponsor of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, listening and viewing audience. Afternoon, I apologize, the listening and viewing audience. And of course, good afternoon to Mr. Sasso. I apologize, I couldn't be there. I have a pressing issue to attend. But I see that you came with the family and supporters, and I'm happy that you have your support around you, and it's a well-deserved, all of the work that you've done, especially in this industry. And I think there are many industries in our society, but I venture to say or even guess that that industry must be one of the most stressful, if I can use that word. You know, having to deal with individuals who are experiencing loss and sadness, and having to provide some sort of structure to help them get through that time of loss, you know. So I really commend you and everyone in that industry. And many people have mentioned that you light up the room, and I've seen you do that as well, whether it's, you know, having a casual conversation, a light joke. But I must say that when you perform in your duties, I haven't really seen anything else like it. And becoming a public official, I have attended more funerals as a public official than I did prior. And when I saw you go to work, it was totally different than I had ever seen. You take the time, the effort, you know, the farewell walk, I think it is. Could you tell us about that? I know everybody's sort of hinting on it, but apparently it's a special type of walk that you had to learn. Like, could you tell us or share with us a little bit about how you were able to develop that, if there's a certification or if it's something you had to learn from someone else?
Good afternoon, Senator Bolkes. Senator Bolkes, the farewell walk is something I just developed. When I went to Home, I said, Mr. Turnbull, we must do something different. We must be above the competition. Let's shut down the competition. And I decided we can just do things different. The farewell walk depends on the recessional hymn. It's different music, different moves to different music. It's just something I just developed on my own, and people are kind of get to love it. And I'll go to the service tomorrow, they'll actually, we're going to see something today. You know, we come to see you march out. And I say, something, whatever the Lord permit me to do, I'll do. Once the legs is good. So you know you can do it. So it's just something I did on my own, Senator.
There is something so surreal and so royal about it. Especially, I've seen you do it more so when there is a burial or a ceremony for an individual who has served in the military. I see that you sort of make sure that you do the walk during those types of processions.
Time.
Is there a specific time when you do that, or you are able to do it whenever you choose to?
Well, Senator, at every funeral I do, I give a march for the family. But military funerals is something different because I deal with the flag, and we must respect the flag. The flag ain't supposed to touch the ground. Nothing ain't supposed to rest on the flag. So when I'm doing a military funeral, I make sure I have my eye on the flag, that no one disrespect the flag. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, if I may have one last question, please.
Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask a question to the nephew of Mr. Sasso, because obviously, well, I'm assuming that his nephew has seen his uncle work, and somehow between that experience, now his nephew is in the business. I wanted to learn a bit more about how he was supported by his uncle, or what drove him to go into that industry. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for the question, Senator. And again, thank you for bringing forth this bill to honor my uncle. When I would visit the Virgin Islands, my uncle was actually a practicing electrician at that time. And I mean, the conversations we would have about his interests, and at some point, you know, entering the funeral profession, they were very special. I think it might have been a couple of years thereafter, you know, graduating.
Hold 1 second, Jelani. Hold that thought. Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, Consumer Protection stands on recess for 2 minutes. The Committee on Government Operations, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection is back on the record. Mr. Sasso, sorry for that. Continue.
Certainly okay. Just continuing as I mentioned, during that that time, you know, when we were in high school, my uncle was a practicing electrician, and when we visited the Virgin Islands, I mean, it was many occasions, but there was one in particular where we spoke about, you know, trades and about professions, and he shared his interest, you know, of becoming a funeral director at some point, and you know, he told us, you know, very candidly, you know, he can teach us everything we need to know about electricity so we don't get shocked and stay out of trouble, but you need to find your way to mortuary school if that's your interest. And that's what happened. You know, I went to mortuary school a year after my cousin Lyle, and it was an amazing experience. Worked in New York City for several years, ended up in funeral education in the city as well, and again, just wonderful opportunities with my uncle, you know, quietly behind at every step of the way. You know, we would share many stories, many conversations of his service, my service in the city. You know, just good times, man. Thank you for that question.
Senator Bolkes?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Thank you for the additional time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Mr. Sasso, James. 1 second, Senator Francis Heiliger. Mr. Sasso, is mortuary a big thing in your family?
Yes, it is.
Because, you know, we chuckle, but I mean, I was in St. Croix, and there's another funeral home over there. I really can't bring the name right now.
Divine Funeral Home.
Yes, and the guy told me, you know, Sasso is my family.
Yeah, Divine is my cousin.
So, I mean, everybody in this thing, like...
A lot in the family, Avery, enough that when I'm gone to carry on.
Good. Good. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Much better. Go ahead.
Oh, excellent. Good afternoon to the people of the territory. Good afternoon to the testifier, also the honoree. I have to say that I, too, am one of those individuals over the years have been thoroughly impressed by Mr. Sasso's service that he provides to the community. When I first attended a funeral that he was presiding over, when I saw what he was doing, what actually came to mind at that moment, I remember years ago, I had seen a funeral that had to do with back in New Orleans, and how they look at funerals, and several of them more like a celebration of life. And, you know, when I saw the bands and how the bandmaster would come forward with that particular meticulous type of stepping, I said, wait a minute, we are really, you know, stepping up our game here in the territory. So I really was very impressed by that. But some of the questions I want to ask you directly, specifically with the industry, do you think there's anything here in the territory that we could adapt or that could be adapted here that could potentially improve the way funerals are done? Or do you think, you know, how we're doing it is pretty good? It's pretty good.
Good afternoon, Senator Francis. Funerals in Virgin Islands could be a lot better. For many years, I've been asking for the Western Cemetery to have the walkways fixed, and Eastern Cemetery is continuing without a plan. I've spoken many times to people that's over the cemetery, and they seem to have their own ideas, Ms. Francis, but Eastern Cemetery is going to be worse than West, because West is flat, East is up a hill, and we already start buried on top of each other. So you have to be walking on other people's tomb to get into the burial site. So I think we need to look into that and have someone look into it to come with a good engineering plan in terms of having some walkways and areas that we could at least roll the body through instead of having to lift so far, because I've seen people fell in East when the rain is a real disaster, it's muddy, it's a real disaster. So there's a couple of things we can fix into, yes.
Well, I'm very happy you brought that to our attention, because, you know, I wasn't even fully aware, just even based on the logistics of how you guys have to traverse the ground, and just what you're saying not only might be hazardous, but it also could be disrespectful from some regard. I personally thought a lot of these things were resolved because I had a specific issue where my mother's coffin was built around, so you can't even access it. So that was a concern for me, and they assured me that these things going forward would have been cleaned up. But what you described to me is a major concern. I want to ask your daughter, being that your father is so well known and he's into this particular industry, as a father-daughter relationship, what qualities do you think that he has that made him so well suited for this role?
Thanks for the question. So I think empathy is one of the main qualities that he holds, and also just the ability to have that personal touch with the families, right? I think it's so important to be able to for people to feel comfortable during a time of grief. And he has the ability to make you feel comfortable, even though, a lot of these families are going through some, maybe their most toughest time. So, I think definitely that empathy and that ability for him to be able to make folks feel comfortable.
Oh, excellent. Mr. Chair, could I just wrap up with one final question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Sasso, you are very well ingrained in the community. Is there other things that you participate in or you would like to see happen in the community to really, continue that connection that we as a people have? Funerals bring people close together, but as a community, we work as a village to look out for one another. Are there any thoughts that you might have to share in that regard? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the additional time.
Cynthia, I would like to see a scholarship coming whether from the legislature or private entity, that we can have students come to high school that's interested in material science, that they can go after college and come back and serve. And on the electrical side, I'd like to see a trade school. We're losing too much young men. The amount of young men that have buried, I can't count them. And we're losing too much young men. We need to take the guns out of their hand and put some tools in the hand. As an electrician, I could donate my time. I could speak to many other electrical companies, such as Bryan Electric, M&M Electric, and I know that they will donate materials. We need a trade school, and I could get people to help teach the youth electrical, and I could get plumbing and some carpentry. We need a trade school in the island. Take the guns out of the young people's hand. Let's put tools in the hand and give them a positive future. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sasso and Senator Francis Heileger. You're so correct about that. But one thing I have to say on the record today, Mr. Sasso, I know you for a very long time, and everything you do is about precision, timing, and being right. But I know it ain't all about you. I have to give your wife, Ms. Risa Sasso, some credit too. One thing, she done got your razor sharp, boy. I never seen nothing like this. You don't lie about your age. I ain't gonna ask you how old you is. But anybody that ever encountered Ms. Sasso, especially that home buyers class, that first-time home buyers class, well done. I wish I'd listened to her and Desiree, Ms. Brooks, 9 years ago. And I had about 3 homes. But anyhow, whether you got good credit, bad credit, low credit, no credit, Ms. Sasso to make you really feel and help you and guide you to be a homeowner. And Ms. Sasso, I thank you for all you do with the children and with the bigger boy here, Sasso, for everything you do. We move to the next senator, Senator Carla Joseph. You're recognized for 3 minutes.
Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chairman. A pleasant good day to you, all my colleagues, as well the viewing and listening audience, and the testifiers who are here in support of the first bill on our agenda, Bill number 360007. This bill, which is going to honor and commend Mr. James Sasso for his distinguished service in our community. I want to just say that this is a very commendable piece of legislation because Mr. Sasso, as everyone has stated, gives the level of compassion needed when people are going through some very tumultuous time of their life, when they are burying a loved one, and he brings that to the whole service and a level of professionalism. I really think that that is very commendable. I always also want to commend the bill sponsor of Bill 360029, which is a resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian hook bracelet and the proprietor of one of the first hand rod jewelry stores in St. Croix. This lady was the catalyst for all of the other Crucian crafted bracelets that have come out of our big island of St. Croix, sister island of St. Croix. I really want to commend the bill sponsors. I do have a very thought-provoking question for Mr. Sasso. I really heard what you said, and you are right. Parents with young people, we have to be able to provide them with something positive to do. I just went to the Central High graduation today, and the guest speaker, she turned something that happened negatively in her life around to something positive and to do good in our community, not only in St. Thomas, well, St. Croix, where she lives and she graduated from Central, but also in St. Thomas. And that's what we have to do. So, Mr. Sasso, I'm very elated to hear that you would be willing to donate your time. Kindly tell us, what was motivating, Mr. Chairman?
Continue, Senator.
Tell us what was your motivating factor to switch careers from being an electrician to now being a funeral director? What was that motivating factor, that aha moment that you said, you know what, I think I want to do this?
Good afternoon, Senator Joseph. Senator, it was when Turnbull Friend Home first opened, I think it might have been the second funeral that they were doing, was my good friend Urban Descartes, the jeweler, his mother. And when I attended the funeral, Ms. Turnbull said, Sasso, can you help me today? I don't have anyone with me. I said, Ms. Turnbull, I got you. And when I helped her at the church and at the gravesite, thereafter her mom, which is our general manager, Mrs. Gums, they called, and when I went, I told them, I can't commit because I'm still doing electrical work. At the time, I was doing more Gatliff gas station house, 3Gs, Gleason, Jewelry, and Jimmy Vedford Glitters. I was doing those 3 homes at the same time. So I said, I really can't commit, but what I can do, if y'all let me know 2 days in advance, I will take the time off and come and do a funeral. But after I started doing those funerals, and I realized that the families are kind of like me, like the different style that I bring to a funeral, I decided after a while it's time to transition and keep out of the hot sun all day, go into some AC and then some sun. So that's how come I transition.
Thank you so much for that. You know, we always have to look at how when people come into their aha moment, and this is something that I know that you're very passionate and committed to do. And I just ask God continue covering over you in this work. Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Thank you. Senator Franklin Johnson, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, the Chair. I do want to definitely give kudos to students down at Central High in their ceremonies today at graduation. Mr. Sasso, I must say that you are a very genuine man when you say that you prefer to do this and you prefer to lose the money and bring this service to family. I have family members that are electricians, and I always recommend to young men, if you're going to take a trade, be an electrician. You got real money there. So I know you're passing up some real money to do this because it's your pride, it's your joy, it's something that you love doing. And when family is at their worst, you bring out that joy. You make the service a real celebration. And I thank you for that. I can recall a couple times seeing your performance, but not only that, seeing when you go and grab the young ladies, them, and they run from you because you're measuring them. What come about you to be measuring people at this service, Mr. Sasso? Help me with that one, because all I know is ladies running, Sasso, stop, stop, stop. And you just, I got your measurement already. What gets into you, Mr. Sasso? Help me with that one, please.
Good afternoon, Senator Johnson. Sometimes when I'll go to shake the lady's hand, they'll say, I ain't touching your hand. He was touching it there, don't touch my hand. So I will tell him, if you don't touch my hand, I can measure you. And that's how I come about that.
Well, you sure does have the ladies skipping and running when you come to shake the hand. And that's that humor and that joy that you bring to that service and to those loved ones and family. And I really sincerely thank you for that, because people sometimes is at the lowest point and you bring that joy. Your steps remind me of when I look at funeral in Louisiana or, New Orleans, not Louisiana, New Orleans, and those marching and those people performance. You remind me a lot of that. Did you any time take some time out to look at what they do and do some of them too?
No, Senator. I never ever seen a funeral in New Orleans. I just develop my own style. I get my cane, I get my top hat, my long coat, and I just decide we're going to do it different and bring joy to the families, and that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
You sure do bring that, and I thank you. I thank your family, your nephew, your daughter, Dr. Kaiser, all the folks that came out and support you today. And I haven't seen the audience, but I was told there's a big audience there, so there's no funeral home today. That's for no service for sure from the Tumble Funeral Home service. And I thank you. I wish you all the best. And I really appreciate those real, genuine words about willing to help young men or young women if they want to learn that trade of electrician. Again, thank you very much for your service. And congratulations. And I'm also glad that you're taking your flowers now, because tomorrow is promised to no one. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Senator Kenneth Gittins, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon to all. Special good afternoon to my good friend there, Sasso. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon, Senator. I'm doing fine. How about you?
Yeah. Keep the camera on him, media. You don't need to get a camera on me. That's the star today. Congratulations. I see you brought out the Calvary there with you today. If you could span the audience as well to media, we'll appreciate it. To all his supporters that came out. I wanted to ask them some questions, but they don't make no sense to ask any questions because there ain't enough time to go around. But I wanted to really know, what set you apart from the rest. And I would have loved to hear, I'm sure each one of them would have had something different to say. As I think back on the first time I saw anything like it at a funeral, I'm thinking back on our former Lieutenant Governor, Gerard Los James. And I was like, but what he doing? But it looked good. It looked really professional. And then I saw he gave another young man a good opportunity, and he too were doing it. Henry Milligan, we call him Ganj. And I said, well, this thing must be real. But then when I got to St. Thomas and I see my good friend, and the difference was he was dressed in black and he was more stiff than anything else. I couldn't tell the difference between him and the baton. And I mean, you guys just professionalize this whole thing. Only one favor I want you to do for me, Sasso. When you see Holland, the retired big National Guard guy for the other funeral home, tell him walk like you going down the mile, okay? Tell him I send a message. But congratulations to you for sure. Colleagues, I also want to respectfully ask you for your support on this resolution. to honor and commend Miss Sonya Hough. I'm really saddened here today as we just lost her just about 2 months ago. But what comforts me is that her legacy will definitely live on through her remarkable handcrafted work that she's done and started right here on St. Croix, which has touched many in our community and will continue to inspire many for many years to come. And I will continue to wear my bracelet proudly. And these bracelets were bought somewhere like about in the early 90s, just put it that way, you know? And so she's been around for quite some time. And I want to say condolences to her family, friends, and the Croix community. Thank you, and I ask you for your support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Gittins. I'll ask any of my colleagues, committee members or non-committee members, if they have that one person question. Anyone? Senator Francis, Novell Francis.
Two.
I'm just making sure if we have
No,
any
Mr.
questions.
Chair, I'm ready to go to a vote. I think
Okay.
that certainly I've heard
Motion.
enough. I've actually seen the work of this individual.
All right, I think I hear a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move bill number 36-0007, a resolution honoring and commending Mr. James Sasso for distinguished service in the mortuary and funeral service industry, be voted upon favorably by this committee and forwarded to the Committee on Rules and Judiciary for further review and action. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Bill number 36007, a resolution honoring and commending James Sasso for distinguished service in the mortuary and funeral service industry, proposed by Senator Angel L. Bolquez, was moved by Senator Ray Fonseca, second by Senator Kenneth L. Gittins, Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Senator Avery L. Lewis.
Yes.
Senator Lewis, yay. Senator Novell E. Francis Jr.
Yay.
Senator Francis Jr., yay. Senator Ray Fonseca.
Yay.
Senator Fonseca, yay. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger.
Yes.
Senator Francis Heiliger, yay. Senator Kenneth L. Gittins.
Yes.
Senator Gittins, yay. Senator Franklin D. Johnson.
Yes.
Senator Johnson, yay. Senator Carla J. Joseph.
Yes.
Senator Joseph, yay. Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Bill number 36007, a resolution honoring and commending James Sasso for distinguished service in the mortuary and funeral service industry, has been voted upon favorably by the Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection, and will be reported out to the Committee on Rules and Judiciary for further consideration and action. Senator
Motion.
I hear a motion. Senator Gittins, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and colleagues, I move that Bill number 36-0029, a resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian hook bracelet and proprietor of one of the first hand-wrought jewelry stores in St. Croix, be voted upon favorably here in this committee and be forwarded to the Rules and Judiciary Committee for further consideration. I so move.
Second.
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 Bill number 360026, a resolution honoring,
29.
sorry about that. Yes, sorry. Bill number 360029, a resolution honoring,
You don't have to say that. You don't have to say improperly.
sorry. A resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian Hook bracelet and proprietor of the first hand-wrought jewelry stores in St. Croix, has been moved by Senator Gittins, second by Senator Carla Joseph and Senator Alma Francis Heiliger. Madam Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Senator Avery L. Lewis.
Yes.
Senator Lewis, yay. Senator Novell E. Francis Jr.
Yay.
Senator Francis Jr., yay. Senator Ray Fonseca. Yay. Senator Fonseca, yay. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger.
Yes.
Senator Francis Heiliger, yay. Senator Kenneth L. Gittins.
Yes.
Senator Gittins, yay. Senator Franklin D. Johnson.
Yes.
Senator Johnson, yay. Senator Carla J. Joseph.
Yes.
Senator Joseph, yay. Mr. Chair, there are 7 yeas.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Bill number 36-0029, a resolution honoring and commending Sonya Hough, the creator of the St. Croix Crucian Hook bracelet and proprietor of one of the first hand-wrought jewelry stores in St. Croix, has been voted upon favorably by the Committee on Government Operations, Veterans Affairs, Consumer Protection, and will be reported out to the Committee on Rules and Judiciary for further consideration and action. Before you
Point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege, Senator Angel Bolkes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and colleagues, I would like to express my thanks for the support of Bill number 36-0007, the resolution to honor Mr. James Sasso. I want to say also that I express support as well for Bill number 36-0007 and look forward to supporting it in the Committee on Rules and Judiciary. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Bolkes. I'd like to thank the testifiers. I'd like to thank Mr. James Sasso. I'd like to thank Senator Gittins for that bill with Ms. Sonya Hough. May she rest in peace. And the Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection stands in recess for 15 minutes. Good afternoon to the people of the Virgin Islands. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the listening and viewing audience. The Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection is back on the record. Madam Clerk, could you read the agenda for Block 2, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Block 2, Bill number 36-0026, an act amended Title 23 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 10, by adding a subchapter VI to establish the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office within the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, proposed by Senator Ray Fonseca.
Good. Thank you, Madam Clerk. So this afternoon, Madam Clerk, we have Bill number 36-0026, an act amending Title 23 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 10, by adding a subchapter VI to establish the Virgin Island Meteorological Office within the Virgin Island Territorial Emergency Management Agency. Who speaks to this bill? Please recognize Senator Fonseca's mic.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chair, and a pleasant good afternoon to all the listening audience and my colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I rise to formally introduce and speak in support of Bill number 36-0026, an act amending Title 23 of the Virgin Islands Code to establish the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office within VITEMA. This legislation is simple but profound. It's to save lives, protect property, and improve our territory's readiness in the face of weather-related threats. And this meteorological office will serve as a centralized professional hub for monitoring weather conditions, producing accurate forecasts, and conducting real-time hazard analysis, all from right here in the Virgin Islands. And Virgin Islanders know about the devastation that can be caused by severe weather. We live in the Caribbean, a region vulnerable to flash floods, high winds, ocean storm surges, hurricanes, and sometimes without much warning. When storms come close to our shores, as Hurricane Dorian did in 2019, we cannot afford to wait even 3 hours for updates from San Juan or from the National Weather Service in the continental United States. This bill gives the USVI the capacity to track and to generate and to interpret weather data for ourselves. Additionally, the recent federal budget cuts to the National Weather Service and its parent agency, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, pose significant risks to the Virgin Islands as we approach the 2025 hurricane season. The Trump administration proposed 30% reduction in NOAA's $6 billion budget, has already led to the loss of over 2,000 employees since January, including meteorologists and data scientists critical to weather forecasting, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, which oversees the National Weather Service. They have experienced a 20% workforce reduction since the start of 2025. This includes over 880 terminations and more than 1,000 additional resignations and buyouts. While there is no official breakdown available for the National Weather Service office in San Juan, Puerto Rico, these cuts are being felt nationwide. Today, VITEMA employs approximately 156 funded staff positions and operate with nearly a $10 million budget. yet not one single full-time meteorologist is employed in Vatima. And on page 3 of the testimony from last year's budget, the director indicated no one in Vatima is dedicated to tracking the weather full-time. The budget from last year, Vatima, was $9,871,572, the recommended budgets. You know, when flash floods occurred, on May 8th of this year, we had one. Carnival Saturday Parade, we had one. February 27th, again, there was another flash flood. The public received no warning. You know, Carnival Race Day, last year, Friday, the village rained out. This meteorological office will be established to hire a professional meteorologist and allow for hiring support staff, including a hydrologist. They will monitor the local conditions using satellite radar weather stations and buoys. They develop and disseminate accurate real-time forecasts and alerts, conduct public education and outreach on weather preparedness, and collaborate with the national agencies like NOAA and the National Weather Service, and most critically, begin the process of establishing a Doppler weather radar station. It's going to be located on the east end of St. Croix. We're recommending an S-band Doppler. I know funding is going to be an issue from that, but it has to be done with a meteorologist. You have to give them the tools. This S-band radar gives you 180 degrees circular radius coverage. So we'll be able to see from Dominica all the way to the east coast of the Dominican Republic, including all of Puerto Rico. As you know, those are the areas where the hurricanes come from and all the storms and the weather. You know, right now in El Yunque rainforest, with its high elevation, their Doppler there significantly is obstructed by the line of sight to the Virgin Islands. They have radar beam blockage, okay? That radar is over 3,500 feet up, and the beam has problem reaching lower altitudes to the southeast, which is the Virgin Islands. We're southeast of Puerto Rico. And it'll also, because of this blockage, the radar beam must tilt higher to clear the mountain, which causes the beam to overshoot weather systems closer to the surface, etc. Heavy rains, flooding, and tornado activity is sometimes missed. This results in poor level radar coverage, making it harder to detect early signs of severe weather in the Virgin Islands. And also, it's a blind spot for the territory. The U.S. Virgin Islands, particularly St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix, fall within a known radar shadow or low-level coverage gap. And supplemental resources are limited. And this obstruction is a major reason why I'm advocating for the installation of a dedicated radar, the Doppler S system. Additionally, an S-band Doppler based on St. Croix would provide weather coverage for all of the Caribbean from the Dominica up to the east coast of the Dominican Republic. Our fishermen need real-time marine advisories to avoid deadly conditions like those in January 2024. Rough seas claim their life. Our fishermen leave their families late at night to go out fishing. They need to know about all of the weather conditions. Our farmers need to know when drought or flooding is coming to protect their crops, investments. Our pilots and seaplane operators need better data on wind shear and crosswinds that affect landings and takeoffs. Our children play on beaches or even commuting to school need to ensure they are safe, not guessing as to the storm, whether it's coming or not. So this is more than weather. It's about building scientific capacity, about ensuring preparedness, and about owning our future in the face of a changing climate. We should not have to call Puerto Rico to find out whether it's safe to swim at Megan's Bay or when a flash flood may strike Bovoni. We should know this, and we should be able to generate our own data. The Meteorological Office will allow us to defend our disaster declarations locally with locally generated data. So when the president declares a hurricane, we can produce the data here. And you know that happened with Hurricane Marilyn and Hugo. They had them as classification 1 and 2 hurricanes when we know they were 4 and 5. We can generate our own data. So we ask those who ask about the cost of this, and I ask you, and I remind you, what is the price of a single Virgin Islander's life? I say this investment will pay for itself even if we save one life. So colleagues, this bill is about smart government. It's about empowering Vitima to fulfill its core mission, which is to save lives and protect property. And I ask for your support on Bill number 36-0026, and with it, the creation of the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office. And let's take this bold step forward, not just for ourselves, but for the safety, security, and sovereignty of our territory. And thank you so much, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator Fonseca. Today we have 2 testifiers. I believe one is online, Ms. Sana Burke, Meteorology and Climate Science major, University of Delaware. And we have Assistant Director, Mr. Ovid Williams, right? Of Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, better known to all of us as Vitima. Well, we're going to start with Mr. Williams. So you're going to put your name and position on the record, and then I'll go online, and then I'll come back to you. Okay?
Good afternoon, Honorable Senator. My name is Ovid J. Williams. I am the Assistant Director of the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency.
Great. Online?
Good afternoon. My name is Sana Burke, and I am a meteorology and climate science major at the University of Delaware, and I'm here to testify in support of the bill 36-0026.
Good, thank you. I'll come back to you in a few minutes. Sit tight, don't move. Mr. Williams, floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Senator A.V.L. Lewis, Chairman of the Committee on Government Operations, Veteran Affairs, Consumer Protection, other committee members, the 36th legislature staff, and those in the viewing and listening audience. I am Ovid J. Williams, the Assistant Director of the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency. I'm providing testimony today to Bill number 36-0026, an act amending Title 23 Virgin Islands Code, Chapter 10, by adding a subchapter VI to establish the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office within the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, dated February 27, 2025, sponsored by Senator Ray Fonseca. Vitima already maintains a strong relationship with the National Weather Service in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office at Vitima, with appropriate technical staff, would serve to enhance that relationship. Based on a recent discussion with the leadership of the National Weather Service in San Juan, not only does the National Weather Service provide Vitima 24-hour telephone support and emergency alert service messages to smartphones throughout the Virgin Islands, but it also provides, as needed, virtual meeting capability with the government agency officials, and provides its written products on social media and hosts online meetings in English and Spanish. One of the greatest benefits of adding a meteorologist to the Vitima team is to provide the much-needed technical input to San Juan National Weather Service for timely notification of weather conditions to St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John, and Water Island based on the input from local observations in the territory. With input on existing threats conditions from a Vitima meteorologist, severe weather warnings could go out earlier from the National Weather Service on Vitima's Alert VI mass messaging notification system, as well as the National Weather Service's wireless emergency alert system and the NOAA 24-hour radio broadcasting from the one tower located at the east end of St. Thomas at the frequency 162.45 megahertz. As to the inclusion of the Doppler radar located on St. Croix, unfortunately, the construction of the new Vitima Emergency Operations Center at Herman Hill on St. Croix using FEMA hazard mitigation funds is several years behind schedule and is currently only at 30% design. Vitima cannot provide an anticipated date of availability and recommends partnership with the National Weather Service for identification of alternate locations on St. Thomas or St. Croix. Besides an improved weather forecast linked to the National Weather Service, these positions in the Vitima Meteorological Office would also be responsible for coordinating with federal and Caribbean agencies on the maintenance of critical weather-related instruments located here in the territory. These instruments monitor atmospheric weather conditions, marine conditions, changes in sea levels indicating potential tsunamis, and seismic sensors detecting earthquakes. With proper training and coordination with the National Weather Service, Vitima meteorological staff could release daily weather balloons, which provide a real-time information to San Juan for more accurate weather forecasts to our islands. The Vitima meteorologists can also conduct education outreach to schools and to further provide awareness on the science behind our unique conditions such as Sahara dust, hurricanes, droughts, floods, volcanic ash, sargassum, and earthquakes, just to name a few. These positions could also provide education on the role of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft, which fly out of St. Croix during tropical storms and hurricanes. As to funding any meteorologist positions, a competitive salary is required to draw and retain qualified individuals. Additionally, recurring visits for training and coordination to the National Weather Service, educational outreach material, travel between islands to support weather instrument maintenance and outreach, and equipment for daily weather balloon and reporting data are also a part of operational cost. Due to the duties of the Meteorological Office staff, vehicles will be required for both St. Croix and St. Thomas. As Vitima currently does not possess the funding for the portions of the atmospheric scientist, meteorologist, or meteorological assistant, our other funding sources would need to be identified to maintain a meteorological office for the territory. Thank you for the opportunity to present on Bill number 360026. In summary, Vitima recommends the inclusion of a meteorological office with recommended staff positions, but does not support the Doppler radar as there's no current location available for deployment or available funding. I would request that the bill sponsor, Rita Sefa, consider amending Bill number 360026 as such. I am prepared to answer any questions to the best of my ability to any members of this committee may have at this time.
Thank you, Assistant Director Williams, for your testimony. Ms. Sana Burke, you're next.
Good afternoon, Chairman Lewis, Vice Chair Francis Jr., members of the 36th Legislature of the Virgin Islands, and my fellow Virgin Islanders. My name is Sine Burke, and I'm honored to provide testimony in support of Bill number 360026, which proposes the establishment of the Virgin Islands Meteorological Office under the Virgin Islands Territorial Emergency Management Agency, also known as Vitima. I appear before you today as a lifelong resident of the Virgin Islands and a committed student of atmospheric science. I'll be graduating on May 22nd with a Bachelor of Science in Meteorology and Climate Science with a minor in Geography from the University of Delaware. I have recently been accepted into the graduate program in Meteorology and Atmospheric Science at the Pennsylvania State University, where I have been awarded a full research assistantship. This opportunity will allow me to pursue research on tropical cyclone formation and intensification in a warming climate, with my emphasis being on the Caribbean region, as it is my home and the area to which I am devoted professionally and personally. The need for a local meteorological office is no longer a matter of convenience or academic interest. It is a necessity. The Virgin Islands continue to face the escalating impacts of climate change, including increasingly powerful hurricanes, erratic rainfall, extended drought periods, and rising sea levels. These conditions are not distant threats. They are active realities that threaten our infrastructure, food supply, public safety, and economic stability. This issue is deeply personal to me. When I began high school, Hurricanes Irma and Maria devastated the Virgin Islands. My family, like many others, was left without electricity for months. Our schools were damaged, and my peers and I were placed on double session schedules, dramatically reducing instructional time. These storms disrupted education, displaced families, and left lasting psychological impacts. I have often wondered whether better localized forecasting, earlier warnings, or more effective public communications could have softened these impacts. I believe they could have. Bill number 360026 seeks to address these vulnerabilities by equipping our territory with tools and expertise tailored to our unique environmental conditions. The proposed Doppler radar station is a particularly critical component. Radar remains one of the most essential technologies in meteorology. It enables the detection of storm rotation, intensity, rainfall rates, and wind fields in real time. According to Ealing and colleagues, radar continues to be indispensable for improving lead times in severe weather forecasting and filling observation gaps in underserved regions, such as ours. Without radar coverage centered over our territory, we are left to rely on data from distant sources that often do not capture the nuances of our localized weather patterns. Moreover, this investment in infrastructure will enhance forecasting not only for emergency response, but also for daily applications such as aviation, marine operations, and agriculture, which is a large component of our culture and source of economic stability in the Virgin Islands. Localized radar and sensor data allow meteorologists to produce high-resolution forecasts that improve accuracy and public trust. This is especially relevant in regions with complex terrain and variable microclimates, such as our very own islands. Hyperlocal observation networks dramatically improve responsiveness to sudden weather shifts and short-term hazards. In addition to enhancing public safety, this meteorological office would provide substantial benefits to the agricultural sector. Our farmers face significant challenges due to shifting rainfall patterns, extreme heats, and the unpredictability of seasonal storms. According to the University of Delaware's Cooperative Extension, real-time local weather data improves agricultural planning for irrigation, pest control, and harvesting. These systems help reduce losses and boost yield, thereby strengthening food security in a territory that heavily depends on imported goods. Furthermore, hyperlocal forecasting is critical to the accuracy and relevance of public warnings. As highlighted by meteorologist Scott Dimich, neighborhood-scale data can detect fast-developing storms and localized threats that broader forecasting systems may miss. In a place like the Virgin Islands, where one community can experience torrential rainfall while another remains dry, this level of precision is essential. I have had the privilege of exploring these topics through my academic research. In my senior project, I utilized the Weather Research and Forecasting, also known as WRF model, to simulate the potential impacts of a 2 degrees Celsius increase in sea surface temperatures on Hurricane Katrina. These results demonstrated significant storm intensifications, lower central pressure, stronger winds, and substantially higher rainfall totals. These findings underscore the urgency of preparing for stronger and wetter storms in the Caribbean. This past Friday, I also presented research at my university symposium titled Investigating the Spatio-Temporal Evolution of Pre-Landfall Rainfall in Gulf Coast Tropical Cyclones. This study analyzed 252 historical landfalling hurricanes and found that many produced substantial rainfall days before landfall. And these features are often overlooked in operational forecasting and can result in unexpected flooding. Improved local analysis capabilities would allow us to anticipate such impacts more effectively and issue earlier warnings. The establishment of a meteorological office would also contribute meaningfully to the territory's intellectual and economic development. It would provide employment opportunities for local scientists and technicians, including myself, promote STEM education, and foster partnerships with national and international research institutions. As a young Virgin Islander pursuing a career in atmospheric science, I know firsthand how rare it is to find professional opportunities in this field within the territory. This legislation signals to students like me that our expertise is valued here at home. Finally, this bill aligns with broader national efforts to invest in regional resilience. As noted by public health reports, strengthening local climate infrastructure in undeserved communities enhances long-term public safety and fosters the next generation of climate professionals. A permanent meteorological presence in the Virgin Islands may also encourage visiting researchers, intergovernmental partnerships, and media coverage, positioning our islands as a Caribbean leader in tropical meteorology. Chairman Lewis, members of the Senate, I commend Senator Ray Fonseca for his insight in introducing this bill, and I respectfully urge you to support its passage. The Virgin Islands must be equipped to meet the challenges of a changing climate with foresight, preparedness, and resilience. Bill number 360026 provides the structure and support needed to do just that. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Burke, for your testimony. How's things in Delaware?
It's warming up, so it's pretty good. I'm actually in the middle of moving everything out of my dorm, so.
Great. I have my legislative aide, Ms. Watley, and a very good friend of mine also went to the University of Delaware. So, big ups to you.
Go ahead.
So, thank you, Mr. Williams, for your testimony, Ms. Burke, for your testimony. Colleagues, we're going to go to a 5-minute round of questioning. I have the opportunity to start the first question, and I'll ask you, Mr. Williams. You mentioned about 24 hours monitoring currently. Does the government pay for that?
Senator, at this time, we do not, sir.
Oh, we do not?
No.
So that's a free service to the government at this time?
From my knowledge, yes, sir.
From your knowledge, okay. Thank you. I understand where the art of the bill is going, but just coming from my previous position as administrator, I know that I've been in settings where we get real-time and information. Just as Puerto Rico get it, we get it. So I do understand the need for it. I'm more thinking of actually hiring, not standing up a whole office, but just hiring maybe an individual to provide that information. But that also comes with a cost, because then we have to get equipment and a whole host of things. But I'll go to the floor to my colleagues, and we'll go from there. Senator, some of my colleagues had to step out for a critical meeting. Senator Fonseca, you want to go first?
I want to, well, first of all, congratulations, Ms. Burke, on, getting this degree in meteorology at the University of Delaware. That's awesome that, we have Virgin Islanders all over the world with all of the skills that we need right here in the Virgin Islands. So congratulations and continue all of the great work. I wanted to get into some particular details here because it involves math. You mentioned in your testimony a 2 degrees increase in sea surface temperature can impact tremendously a storm. Give us some more specifics on what you're saying there, because not many people realize that the temperature of the sea has a lot to do with the power of a storm.
Thank you so much for the question, and I'll gladly answer it. So right now, with carbon emissions contributing to like greenhouse effects that's happening, the Earth is warming, which includes the land and sea surface temperatures. And as these temperatures over the water increase, they strengthen storms, as storms need warm ocean temperatures to generate themselves and to intensify, which is why we only have tropical cyclones during the summertime, as that is when the water is warmest. And if these temperatures continue to increase, as they are expected to within the next century, we are expecting an almost 2-degree Celsius increase in sea surface temperatures if we do not make any efforts to combat and mitigate the effects of climate change. And I believe that, especially since we're in a region that is prone to tropical cyclones, it is really important that we educate ourselves and the community about exactly what this could look like for the future of the territory. And as a meteorology major, that's exactly why I went into this field. I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of these severe storms. And I know that it's only going to get worse with time. And I think that it's imperative for us to understand and prepare for what the future has in store for us.
Okay, good. So I want to get another technical question because it's important for people to understand, because right now we have no capability to generate our own weather data, right? Is that correct? Okay, so now explain to us why it is a Doppler radar that's located in mountains can miss accurate coverage of the Virgin Islands, like we have in El Yunque rainforest in Puerto Rico. Explain how that can miss our weather and potentially cause flooding that we don't even know is coming, but had we had a Doppler here, we would know. Give us the details.
Yes. So with Doppler radar, what it does is it sends out signals to kind of pick up on particles that are in the atmosphere, and mountains obstruct this. So what Doppler weather radars are calibrated to do is send out these signals at an angle to avoid these structures. And if there's mountains or other like hilly terrain in between us and that Doppler weather station, it will be angled upwards so that it heads more up into the atmosphere itself instead of overland. So we tend to miss important things like accurate precipitation rates, flooding, and other meteorological phenomena, because they have to account for the terrain, and the terrain could skew data. So they have to angle it so that it's only within the atmosphere and not what's actually happening overland.
Okay, thank you. I want my next question, Mr. Chair, if I may, is for Vaitima. So last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago for the Carnival Adults Parade, they had severe flood warning.
1 minute.
And, since we were doing this bill, we checked, and the National Weather Service actually had a flood warning for the Virgin Islands up, but it was not broadcast. And it happened last year for the Carnival horse race. As a matter of fact, Friday, me and the former assistant director, the person that had your office, we were out at the horse race track Friday, 5 o'clock with the horse race, me and him talking like how we're here now. And 7 o'clock, they had a flood, and he didn't even know that a flood was coming that 7 o'clock the night, and I'm with him the 5 o'clock. And the National Weather Service had it up. So the issue is, the question is does Vaitima have a staff position that monitors the weather full time?
Honorable Senator, at this time, no, we don't.
No, you don't. Okay, so there's no one at Vaitima monitoring the weather full time. So then if the National Weather Service has issued a flood warning and there's nobody monitoring the flood warning, then the flood warning doesn't get out to the people, and hence you can cause damage to property, lives, etc. And we know in the community, we suffer billions of dollars in damages from storms. Not millions, billions of damages. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time.
Thank you, Senator. Ms. Burke.
Yes, hello.
Office of what we're talking about here today, how many staff do you think we need? We have 4
That's a great
islands.
question. I would assume that it would be in our best interest if we were able to have at least one person representing the St. Croix St. Thomas, and St. John Island, so 3 in total. That would be, I think, the best course of action to handle the current situation, because while meteorology is very, very intense at times. Looking into forecasts, running forecast models yourself to improve the predictability of what could be coming our way. It takes time, it takes efforts, it takes computers, large-scale computers, it takes a lot of effort. So I think having people that are, at least 2-3 people that are experts in this field may be best.
And to best guess, best known, what's the running cost now of starting salary of a meteorologist?
Starting salary, I believe, could be anywhere from 70. I know some are 90, depends on exactly what institutions or organizations you're working for, private versus public sector. But I know 70 to 90,000.
Good. So, thank you, Ms. Burke. Sorry, let me do this. Senator Alma Francis Heiliger, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the testifiers. Good afternoon to the people of this territory. And special good afternoon to our staff. You know, we definitely appreciate you here in the legislature. I did quite a bit of research when I was preparing in regards to this piece of legislation, because anything that has to do with potentially opening a new office here in the territory, especially dealing now with the economic situation that we're dealing with, I have to weigh the pros and the cons, whether it has to do what benefits outweigh the potential cost versus what can be done and what can't be done. And after doing some extensive research over the past week or so, I have some major concerns, because I was listening to the narrative that was being put out today, and I'm wondering, a lot of the services that we get with NOAA and the National Weather Service directly next door through Puerto Rico are free services. It doesn't really cost us anything. They have already set up the infrastructure. We have access to the data. I know there were some concerns as it relates to how quickly we do get information. And I really dived into that part, because that would have been the catalyst for me as to whether or not this is something we should or should not do, because if time-wise is a situation where it could potentially cost a life. I heard earlier information might take 3 hours to come out. When it comes to severe weather, when it comes to hurricanes, when it comes to flash floods, NOAA puts out that information almost instantaneously, roughly within 0 to 3 minutes. So that is not an issue where, okay, would this justify us putting out money to do that? When it comes to the radar system, that happens in real time. That system, I even went and checked to see how much it would cost us. It's millions of dollars we would potentially have just to purchase the item, outside of finding a new location based on what Vitima had just shared, as well as even setting up the infrastructure to house this particular system. When I took the time out I said, well, okay, is this justifiable when it comes to tsunamis and earthquake alerts? We already get that information instantaneously within 1 to 2 minutes when it happens. All of this stuff is already tied to Vitima, where we get the necessary alerts. I heard one particular concern my colleague just spoke about as it relates to a flash flood happening, even though the National Weather Service via Puerto Rico had put the information. We here locally did not do our job to make sure the information was put out. So that is where I see a door opening for maybe having a dedicated staff within Vitima to be responsible to make sure monitor the data and the information as it comes in, so that if anything, slips through the cracks and it doesn't automatically get sent out, that somebody's there monitoring to make sure that information is out there. But outside of that, in all honesty, with all the research that I've done, in looking at every angle of it, I have to look, does the benefit outweigh the cost?
1 minute.
And I'm the type of person, if we were in a situation where we had millions of dollars to lick around at this current moment, I would be more than happy to support the bill because, okay, we're getting local information, but that local information is only going to benefit when it comes to potentially dealing with forecasts. As you know, forecast, today is Friday, I'm going to get a forecast that next week, Wednesday, it's going to rain. That data comes out of the National Weather Service roughly within 3 hours on a continuous basis, several times a day. So I'm very much concerned at the narrative because we as a community and as representatives of the people, we have to right now start putting things based on priority. We have, as my colleague earlier said, we have sewage running in the streets that is a major health hazard that we can't even clean up.
Time.
Because a lot of it has to do with infrastructure as well as funding. And I cannot, in good conscience, Mr. Chair, could I wrap up?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Senator.
Thank you. I cannot, in good conscience, after digging up all this information and comparing to our priorities and our needs right now in the territory, especially with us losing grant monies and fundings, and we know what is happening with us nationally, to now make this a priority when the bulk of the services we're already getting for free. So you're potentially asking me as a legislator to now come up with millions of dollars to not only set this up, but also roughly about 1.5 to 2.5 million on an annual basis to maintain something we're already getting for free. Now, I understand the localized aspect of it, but when we get to a point that we need to focus on that, I think maybe in the future, if we have the necessary resources, we can do that. But I, in good conscience, I can't do it at this particular time. But I do understand what the message and what the sponsor is attempting to do. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Francis Heiliger. Senator Francis Heiliger. Senator Bolkes. I don't see them. Senator Franklin Johnson, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon to the testifiers. Good afternoon to the viewing and listening audience. I too have some concern as to my colleague in what she just spoke about. And I would ask Mr. Williams, do you have any idea of your budget? If you have positions that are not being filled, can you sustain this? This is my main question. Simple. Can Vitima sustain this operation? Something that I can see can be used in cases when, and we all can have experienced when the storm passes the Virgin Islands and it's going towards Florida and all of that. Once continental United States are in danger, it's hard for us to get idea, any information, what's coming to us. So I can understand my colleague and the direction you want to go. But we must be responsible. I want to hear from Vitima. If you have any idea about your budget, and can you sustain this?
At this current funding ceiling, no, sir.
Do you have any analysis as a cost of what it actually would cost? Because we haven't seen numbers, and this thing have numbers. This have money involved in it. And we need to know before we just make decision without any knowledge as to what the cost is going to be. You have any idea of the cost of this?
At this time, no, we don't, sir.
I don't have a lot of questions. I want to definitely congratulate Ms. Burke and her accomplishment, and I hope for one day we would definitely have you here with us to assist us in your profession. But I am always a real person. I not going to play games here and say, let's go ahead with this, not knowing where the funding source is coming from. So I rest at this moment with this, but we need to figure out that before we start pushing something down the road, knowing that we have a lot of budgetary restraint coming up. We need to be very responsible and to our decision. I rest for now, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. Ms. Burke.
Good afternoon.
As someone entering the field, what do you believe are the most critical first steps in establishing a successful and effective meteorological office here in the Virgin Islands?
I believe that one of the first steps would be to, of course, find the personnel needed to run the office. We would need a meteorologist on standby. They'll be able to communicate with other offices nearby, or other stations or services, weather services nearby, so that we can also, if in the event that we cannot have our own Doppler radar station here, that we can communicate with other stations, receive data from them, and then tailor it towards the Virgin Islands. I think it'd also be imperative that, of course, we would like to have our own instruments, whether that is a precipitation gauge, a rainfall gauge, wind gauge, and an anemometer to monitor pressure levels within the Virgin Islands. I think that would be really great. I think it's just a matter of materials and personnel. That would be, and of course, a location and office in which you can actually house these things. But those would be, I believe, we need.
So doing a little rough research, you think we need a chief meteorologist, a lead forecast meteorologist, a hydrologist, and I'm pretty sure they're going to want some kind of administrative somebody to assist.
Right.
So right there alone, that's about, including fringe benefits and everything, maybe close to $500,000, right?
Right.
So that's something to think about right there. My next question to you is, given your academic background and research, how would you advise this office, if successful, to balance the short-term forecasting needs that we have with long-term climate monitoring as well?
So I believe that, and this is why I'm a huge advocate for the obtaining of local data, because while we use models from other stations, those models were trained with larger countries in mind, such as the US, countries in Europe in mind, and not tailored towards the climate and variability within the Caribbean regions. The field of tropical meteorology is overlooked. They tend to focus on larger countries as those receive like the most damages, the most costs were related with damages when these storms come through, which is why I believe that we should focus on obtaining data here within the Virgin Islands. But I believe that as climate change continues to progress and worsen, and as I mentioned, sea surface temperatures continue to rise, it is imperative that we understand of the small term changes. So of course, yes, we may have longer drought periods, which affects our agriculture sector. We may have wetter, rainier seasons, which may be a benefit in some cases, but also a detriment in others, because it could lead to erosion and the beaches as well we have to deal with more testing of the water and stuff like that with EPA. So it depends. But for long term, we're going to see these drought seasons and these rainier seasons become more intense. We may have longer drought seasons. And of course, we know in the Virgin Islands, we rely on rainfall for cisterns. I know I do, particularly rely on rainfall to fill my cistern to use water when I'm home. So to just educate the community about this, as well as having our own data that we can create models that can help us understand what to expect in the future. If we have our own data, we can run models. Like I mentioned, the weather research and forecasting model that I use to do a recent project that I just submitted about a week ago. Using the data that we have here, we can definitely understand and prepare ourselves because we have a better understanding of exactly what climate change will do to the Virgin Islands. We already know that the intensifying of storms, droughts, rainfall seasons will come alongside this change, but we need to know exactly how and what we can do to prepare the Virgin Islanders better in this regard.
Good. So, Ms. Burke, if this office is established, would you personally see yourself returning to the Virgin Islands to work in it after graduate school, or, you just graduated, and what would make that opportunity viable for you and others in your field?
I would absolutely love to return to the Virgin Islands. There's no place like home. I love home. I don't want to be anywhere else but home, if I'm being very honest. I would love to return. I went into this field with the intention of helping the Virgin Islands. If you ask anyone I know, I went into this field because I know what it's like to be on the receiving end of these storms. And I know what it's like to live in a community where I felt as though we're overlooked. We hear everything about Puerto Rico, we hear everything about different islands, but we never really focus on the Virgin Islands. And I wanted to be the person that could allow for there to be focused on the Virgin Islands. So in any way that I'll be able to do that, I would love to. That is my goal in my career, which is why I'm going to graduate school, to focus on tropical cyclones in the Caribbean, because I love home. There's no place like it. And if I could make it better for our residents to fully understand and adapt to climate change, I would absolutely love that. And can you repeat the second part of your question?
I said, what would make it viable for you or even others in the profession?
I think what would make it viable, of course, pay is always a factor. The cost of living in the Virgin Islands has been increasing in recent years, especially now that the entire nation is dealing with inflation. It's gotten much worse. A carton of eggs was almost $20 the other day. So I think, of course, we need to have like a reasonable pay, and also the resources that we need. Again, having the ability to have localized data specific to the Virgin Islands to help us with these models and forecasting, as well as just informing the community of what is occurring at that very moment in time. I think that that's imperative. It's really a matter of funding, materials, and an office.
All right. So I see earlier I asked you about salary, and you tell me about 75 or so, and I see here in the paper it says 120. So I'm going to save some money with you. So come home for the 75.
Well, it's starting, but when we start to work our way up there, so it goes up.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your response. I just let me share some personal experience. As the world know, I was in a previous position, the St. Thomas Waterland administrator, and I know when weather coming. We have had briefings, and we with the local meteorological center in PR, and we start at, there's a 6 o'clock briefing, an 8 o'clock briefing, a 10 o'clock briefing, 12, go right through the whole weather, right? And we've had about drought, we've had about, different things, even earthquakes. Every morning I get up, I see some type of alarm, whether I sleep through it or something, that we may have in these seismic activities a little more than usual. Some day ago, we had a strong earthquake, and shortly after that, it came out ding-dong on your phone. During the same kind of a break, the parade day, or whichever day it was, when we had all that torrential rain, the alarm went off. Everybody's phone started alarming. So I know we got the information, and right now, I have to kind of agree that it's kind of cost-effective, but should we have our own? Yes. And I do understand. Colleagues, we're going to go to a 3-minute round, another round, and we'll start with, I don't see Senator, there's only, okay. I'm seeing Senator Ray Fonseca.
Thank you.
You're recognized for 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you so kindly, Mr. Chair. So we have an issue here where right now the Virgin Islands, we don't generate any weather data. A storm has to be declared by the president. He has to rely on data that's coming from some place that's not in the Virgin Islands. We've received testimony from Ms. Burke that the Doppler that's in Puerto Rico, due to the mountainous terrain, can misdiagnose the actual weather conditions in the Virgin Islands. This bill here is about saving lives and being able to predict and generate our own data. Storm systems form immediately. We've received testimony from Vitima that No one monitors the weather full time. So if a storm forms at whatever hour that they're not monitoring, maybe it might take 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. A flood happens, things happen. The Virgin Islands suffer billions of dollars in lives due to storms and weather-related issues. And we need to be able to generate our own data. This is about saving lives. This is about the Virgin Islands going to a new frontier. And remember, there's federal cuts that's coming to the National Weather Service. That's going to affect the Virgin Islands, and those cuts are going to further deteriorate our ability to predict weather. So now let me just get to Vitima, because you've gave testimony on the bill. What do you estimate it would be to hire the meteorologists, and also how many vacant positions that you have in the budget right now?
Honorable Senator, at this time, as I said before, we have not begun to do the breakdown in regards to creating the salary or the cost, the fringe cost, as well as any of the operation costs needed to run this office. To then speak about your second question, if I may, at this time, from my preliminary research, we are about, from a local perspective, about 28 vacancies, and from a federal perspective, we're at 8.4 vacancy full-time employment.
So you're telling me that you have a total of 60 vacant positions in Vitima right now?
No, sir. No.
Okay,
no, sir.
I misunderstood. Tell me, what's your total vacant positions?
All right. I'm going to have to give it in two different ways, right? From a federal standpoint and from a local standpoint. From the local standpoint, we're looking at approximately 28 vacancies. From the federal standpoint, we're at 8.4 full-time FTEs.
Okay, so 28 plus 8, so it's 36 total vacancies in Vitima.
More or less, yes,
okay.
Sir.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can just wrap up. So how important is this meteorologist? Is this meteorologist more important than those 36 vacant positions, or those 36 vacant positions are more important than the meteorologist? Because it all comes down to the funding. It's going to be in Vitima, and so you have to determine, you have 36 vacant positions. Is a meteorologist important to Vitima? It comes down to Vitima wanting to move this. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the time. You can answer on the chair's time.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't think I think it paints the wrong picture if we say that one is more important than the other. What I would say is that with our vacancies, we are currently working on filling them. Those vacancies are part of our response and preparedness structure. And so the meteorologist, yes, it is important, and it is something that we do support as based to our testimony. However, that funding that we use there, especially on the federal side, we all know federal funding stays, we have to have it for certain things, right? As soon as we write the narrative and send to the feds, they have to approve of it, right? And then on the local side, we do have local response and local preparedness persons that we need to fill. And so it's not that it's more or less important, but as right now, that is what we have in regards to our vacancies.
Thank you. Senator Franklin Johnson, you're recognized for your 3 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I really don't need 3 minutes. I think it's very clear that we all do agree that meteorologists for the territory will be good. But we must have that funding. Yes, there might be available position. I think we need to sit down with the agency, find out if there's areas that you can delete position. That can't happen here on the floor. That's something that has to happen out the box. So I really don't want to go any farther with this. I know that we need to make real sound decision and not just run to do something to do it. And as I said, if it's a funded position, I do support it. But just putting the position and putting it on the agency, I just can't do that. I think that more conversation need to be had, and this measure could come once more conversation is had. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. The Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs and Consumer Protection is going to take a 2-minute recess. The Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection is back on the record. I hear a motion. Senator Ray Fonseca, you're recognized.
Thank you so kindly, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I move that Bill number 36-0026 be held in the Committee on Government Operations, Veteran Affairs, and Consumer Protection for further review and consideration. I so move.
Hearing.
Second.
All right. Hearing no objections. Properly moved and second. Hearing no objection. It's properly moved by Senator Fonseca, second by Senator Franklin Johnson. Hearing no objections, so ordered. Mr. Oven, I give you 30 seconds to give closing.
I just want to say thank you to you, Senator Avia Lewis, and your Committee on the Government Operations, Veteran Affairs, Consumer Protection, for the opportunity to present testimony on this matter. I also want to thank my fellow testifier, Ms. Burke. Congratulations on your graduation, and I wish you well on your future endeavors. And I just want to ensure that that VITEMA's mission statement and our promise to the Virgin Islands is to save lives and to protect the property of the Virgin Islands. And we will always work to do so. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Burke. You want to give a closing statement, 30 seconds?
Yes, I also want to say thank you to everyone for the well wishes regarding my graduation. It's in 2 days, and I look forward to representing the VI on a larger stage. I'll make sure to shout us out while I'm up there. And also want to say that just thank you for the opportunity for me to express my love for meteorology and why I believe that the Virgin Islands needs a meteorologist and why I believe that we need localized data to help us understand and mitigate risk associated with climate change. And I want to thank everyone on the floor, all the senators, the chairs. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
All right. So
point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege, Senator Kenneth Gittins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the point. I just wanted to say congratulations to my cousin there, Ms. Burke, on her graduation. I think her mom told me from the University of Delaware, bachelor's in Bachelor of Science in Meteorology. I just wanted to say congratulations to you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other point of personal privilege? All right. Thank you. Thank you all the testifiers today. Thank you, my committee members. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, everyone. Non-committee members, all the support staff. Thank the media, legislative reporters, and the Sergeant at Arms. Thank you, Mr. Fleming, and your team for your assistance. I would also like to thank the central staff for providing additional support for this meeting. I'd like to thank my staff. Thank you. There being no further business to come before the Committee on Government Operation, Veterans Affairs, and Consumer Protection, this meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful day.